So yeah, there's a scenario in which the Nuggets could be up 2-1 over the Lakers right now. The Lakers certainly made it interesting in the fourth quarter, busted out the zone defense. Rondo fouled Jeremy Grant a couple times, they didn't call it. And Rondo was also on Jokic, and Jokic didn't move. It was really weird. And I think the real story was how the Lakers could not defend the Nuggets. But I do want to talk about the Lakers' offense for a little bit. I feel like the Nuggets packed the paint on them like crazy, and it would make sense for the Lakers to have some sort of cut action going on outside of just dudes spotting up pretty much. Because if not, then you're basically just relying on dudes to make threes, and tonight they shot 20% from three or whatever it was, and that's usually not going to cut it. But now if we talk about the Lakers trying to defend the Nuggets, the problem was defensively. They just didn't have a lot of answers until that zone defense. I mean, I guess it was kind of a normal Nuggets game in some sense. I mean, they were up 20 at one point, and whether it's the Jamal Murray-Jokic pick and roll, which was leading to a Jokic floater, or a Jamal Murray layup, or a Jokic pick and pop, or somebody getting open on a cut or whatever, it was kind of the prototypical Nuggets offense game, and the Lakers didn't have a lot of answers to get them out of that until they went to the zone. So maybe we'll see the zone more in Game 4, because nothing else was really working. But the Nuggets' three-point shooting was good as well. I mean, Jeremy Grant, you could view this as the Jeremy Grant game. He was 2 for 5 from three. He was going off the dribble at times to get to the free throw line, like when the Lakers would leave him open and stuff. Monte Morris had a couple threes. He had that big mid-range off of a Murray-Jokic pick and roll. Yeah, the Nuggets were just really, really comfortable offensively tonight. And the plays that I'm not mentioning, MPJ hit a couple of contested shots, including that 1-3 over LeBron. And then Jamal Murray, I mean, he had the big three that you could view as the dagger, that deep one over AD late. But Murray was just taking him one-on-one sometimes. He got Caruso on one. He did get stripped by Rondo a few times at the end there, but I want to say he got Rondo at least once or twice in an ISO, and I guess that's a scenario in which you'd like to have Avery Bradley, right? But, this is the new Jamal Murray. This 17-point scoring guy who sometimes goes off for 30 and sometimes goes off for 7, that guy's gone, okay? And so there's going to be times where you do everything right on him, you get a good contest on him and all that, and he's going to get by you and finish at the basket. He's going to hit a pull-up mid-range on you, whatever it may be. I mean, his aggressiveness going to the basket has been better. He's shot 7 free throws in this game. He shot 8 in Game 2 against the Lakers. And as far as an obvious way to deal with him, I mean, we did see the zone, as we mentioned. I don't think it's possible to trap Jamal Murray, because then Jokic is right there. So then my next question is, how do you defend Jamal Murray well enough in kind of a conventional way? Maybe you just beat him with size. Maybe LeBron's got to be on him a couple more times. Kuzma's bigger than him. Markieff Morris is bigger than him. Technically, Caruso is, but they're basically the same size. I mean, Danny Green, but I don't know if Danny Green has the speed to keep up with him like that, but I think you got to try something different, besides Rondo fouling him and getting 3 steals late. Maybe KCP's the guy. I don't know. But at the same time, the Nuggets run enough stuff to where they can force you to switch anyway, and I always do my whole spiel about how Jokic and Murray have just mastered forcing switches, run the screen, take it back out, that sort of thing. So, we'll just see. Now, the weird thing was, the Lakers, when they went to that zone, they had Rondo and smaller guys on Jokic, and it was kind of working. It was really weird, because they were putting Jokic at the free throw line to deal with the zone. Then he had that smaller guy, and it was kind of making him uncomfortable. I don't know if that's going to work long term, but it worked for a few minutes there. If you had actual success with that, maybe not in the sense of a point guard on Jokic, but let's say LeBron or Danny Green or Morris or something, that could give you some luxury to put AD on somebody else, a.k.a. Paul Millsap, who they left open quite a bit in this game, and give him some more free-roaming opportunities. But again, I don't know if that's really going to work like that. Probably some more LeBron AD pick and roll. We actually saw one in the fourth quarter. It resulted in an AD floater with no resistance on it at all. That was my thing going into the series. I'm like, this is the time to run it a million times, and they just kind of haven't. I should get back to talking about Jokic. Dwight was on Jokic a bit in this game, and I would love to see the numbers, like the points per possession and all that stuff in those scenarios. Because off the top of my head, I really can't remember how successful it was. I mean, a decent amount of it happened in the first half, and basically everything the Nuggets were doing worked in the first half. So maybe that's my answer right there. But you'd think that Dwight could have some chances of defending Jokic. I mean, JaVale didn't play much at all, and there's a chance that moving forward, it might be the Dwight over JaVale series. I don't know. I mean, JaVale over Dwight was for the Rockets, whatever that's worth. One thing that was talked about a bit on Twitter was the rebounds and how a bunch of the Lakers big dudes didn't grab a lot of boards. I think AD ended up with 3 on the game. He ended up with 2. JaVale had 1. Dwight had 1. And on the other side of things, the Nuggets had 9 offensive rebounds, which is not a super lot, but it would be like 3rd or 4th in the playoffs. So, I mean, if instead of getting 9 offensive boards, the Nuggets got like 5, then maybe that would have been the difference in this game. There is one other thing I want to say with the Lakers, and I know that Rondo, he's having a bit of a moment right now. I get that. There was a lot of Rondo in this game, okay? He was 3rd in shot attempts. He played 30 minutes. And it's like, look, he's doing some things out there for you. Cool. There's also times when I'm like, bro, can you just give the ball to LeBron and get the hell out of the way? I don't think that was the main reason they lost or anything, but as I'm going down the ladder of little things that annoyed me with the Lakers, there's times when I'm like, okay, a little too much Rondo going on right now. I guess one other thing that I'm kind of noticing just as I'm going down some of the stats and stuff of these two teams, the rotations for both of these teams have not shortened that much. I mean, the Lakers played 10 guys, 9 guys if you want to count JaVale playing 8. And for the Nuggets, I mean, Jamal Murray played 44 minutes. That's a normal playoff game. Jokic had 37 minutes. And maybe it's a little understandable just because of the lead they had, but when you look at that, and then you also look at Game 2 where he had 39 minutes, is it possible that Mike Malone has been pulling a Coach Bud and we haven't really noticed? I think it's on the table. I think Jokic's minutes situation moving forward is going to be a little interesting. And I mean, maybe he just can't go that many minutes. That would be the one difference. Like, that Giannis can play 75 minutes in a row and he'd be fine. Maybe Jokic can't go 45 minutes. And if he cannot, then he deserves criticism for that. Because if we're going to be killing Embiid all day for not having the stamina, then we got to do the same thing with Jokic. But I think it's still a little bit of a wait and see. But to get back to it for the Lakers, we'll just see what the Lakers minutes stuff looks like as this thing goes along. And is somebody going to get pulled out of the rotation completely? Because it's always something to look at. At what point is a coach basically the jerk who pulls the guy who's been playing 20 minutes a game all season? Maybe Vogel doesn't do it. Maybe he doesn't have to. Maybe he shouldn't do it. Do I have anything to say about LeBron for this game? Just because that is always a bit of a conversation. I mean, no. I guess maybe he could have got going a little bit more in the first half. But, 30 points, great efficiency, 10 boards, 11 assists, normal LeBron game. He played 37 minutes, was looking a little tired by the end there. I imagine you don't really want to ramp up his minutes like that. But if you're going to have to, then that's what you do. LeBron can handle it. You might have to shift around his defensive responsibilities a little bit to preserve energy, but I assume that LeBron could handle playing a few more minutes. But at the same time, as I'm saying all this, it should be remembered, the Nuggets are a good team. They were not going to get swept. But yeah, that'll do it for me. Basically, the Nuggets just killed the Lakers on offense, and they couldn't figure him out until they busted out his zone. And there's some questions to answer between, does Dwight become the Jokic guy? Do you do anything in terms of bringing extra defenders on Murray or Jokic, or is that just a losing battle every time? Do you have the one guy who can kind of stick with Murray? And also, will the Nuggets get 26 points from Jeremy Grant again? And also, will the Lakers shoot below 70% from the free throw line and also below 25% from three another time in this series? I don't know either. And the other question is if my wife will ever come back. But you know what? We don't know the answers to all these things just yet. But that'll do it. Like and subscribe if you want to. And yeah.